welcome everybody. I'm delighted to meet everybody who's joined this. I think there's over 200 of you, all from all over the world, as part of this session for the next hour. You are most welcome. My name is Julia Middleton. I run an organization called Women Emerging, which is trying to make it so that women can lead the way they want to, rather than being told to lead the way everybody else tells them to. Delighted that you've joined us. We've got a great lineup. We've got Armine first. You could tell us a little bit about the context in which we're meeting. We've then got three fantastic panelists talking about leadership, and I've got some really impossible questions for them to answer. Then we've got three young women who are all at UWC in Dilijan, who are going to pick up some of the more interesting things that we panelists say. Hopefully there'll be something for them to say. And then we'll see what happens. As we go, in the chat box, put up single words, not 2 words, not 3 words, not 4 words, not 5 words, just a single word. And you can have lots of single words as we go through the next hour. But each time someone says something, you go, that's really interesting, capture a word that sort of brings it back to you and put it in the chat. And then at the end of this panel session, we, by some magic, will produce a word cloud and pick up what everybody's saying and figure out what are the really big messages. So single word at any time. You can do lots of single words, one after the other, but really looking forward to hearing what you think. So first off, we've got Armine. Go on, talk to us, Armine.
Hello, Julia. I was actually thinking as you were speaking, my word for you would be energy today.
Ah, good, that's a compliment in my world.
And I'm all too honored to pick up the mantle. So hello, everybody. Once again, welcome on behalf of the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative. I've recently joined as our executive director. I'm based in North America. I was joking with Julia last week. I'm actually a bit of a boomerang. So I'm coming back for unfinished business after having been with the prize in its first year. And as it's evolved into an initiative, I'm very excited to get stuck back in. I just Aurora and women, more than fitting for a number of reasons. There's an obvious one right there. We're named for a woman who persevered despite all odds, told her story, and inspired America's first philanthropic movement. From there, the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative, we believe in everyday people doing extraordinary things. A prerequisite for that is just being there, and women by necessity are always there. We seem to always be there in spades when things are going down. Beyond that, there's a penchant for alleviating human suffering. The most empathetic, the most self-sacrificing, the most offering people that I know are oftentimes women. I'm not saying it's a necessity, it's a prerequisite, but it just so happens to be the case. We certainly don't have the market cornered on this, but I'd like to think that we, as women, set the standard. Aurora, as an initiative in its first 8 years, has impacted over 150,000 women around the world by offering educational and economic opportunities, as well as medical support. And I'd be remiss not to call out our most recent laureate, Julia Afghani, for her incredible efforts to provide 20,000 women and girls with education despite the Taliban's ban. Last one for me, I'm going to hand it over to Julia. We're going to keep it pacey this morning. Many of us, North America, but around the world, celebrated Mother's Day yesterday. And that to me is the ultimate symbol of support, sacrifice, and kind of boosting those around you. And so the last thing I'll say is think of a woman in your life. Maybe it's your mother, maybe it's a mother, maybe it's not a mother at all, and just give thanks for a moment there.
That's great, Armine. Thank you so much. I've got another question. Add to your, think of the woman, and then also go and find the men in your life, right? And say to them, who is your idol as a leader who is a woman? And if they mention their mothers, tell them to shut up and start again. And if they can't think of somebody, tell them to go and find somebody. Anyhow, great, Armine. Welcome to the boomerang. Welcome back. And I boomerang permanently on Aurora. I deeply believe and am passionate about Aurora. So I hope some words are already going up in the chat. We need them, we need them. Right, so we have, welcome Shad. Welcome, I'm so delighted that your internet was okay. Julienne, salut. Tiffany, I'm so glad you joined us. Your internet must be a nightmare. Margee, you're first. Okay, so I've got a really quick question, Margee. You're not allowed to spend much time on it. It's got to be sort of 3 or 4 sentences. Just tell me what you learnt about leadership, either from your mother or from your grandmother or from your auntie, somebody in your heritage, because we come from a long line of powerful women, we do. So go on, tell me what you learned from them, but it's got to be quick.
Okay, so it was my mom and her 4 sisters, independent, future-oriented. They never, ever gave up. That's it.
Give me an example of why. Give me when did they never give up?
In a discussion with my dad, with my brothers, they always held their ground. They always had their own thoughts about what was important in life and supported each other to accomplish their goals. Just incredible women and role models for me, always.
Fantastic, Shad. Thank you. Shad, your grandmother, your mother, your aunties, whoever.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I'm so happy I'm actually here today with you all, despite I was just worrying about the internet today. So actually, I have so many women in my life, my grandmother, my mother, and, you know, my mother-in-law and everyone, and even I myself, because I was the first woman, university graduated woman from my family, and the first one who became a women rights activist. So, you know, just a little bit, I belong to an area which was merged into my country in 1969. Before that, my area was ruled by a prince, you know. So that prince was actually very much against education and the development of the local people. So my grandmother, actually, she supported my grandfather, not only in so many other things, but also that to sustain the family and make sure her children get proper education. So the thing, whatever I'm doing today, the compassion I have, the passionate I am about all the things I'm doing, this is all I have learned in my entire life whenever I have seen my grandmother dealing with any problem, with any situation in her life.
Total determination. Yes. Julienne, mère, grand-mère, tante. Julienne, come off mute. You're on mute.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Sorry, I didn't see that my mic is
Don't
closed.
worry. Tell me what you learned from your mother, your grandmother, your auntie. What's the legacy of those amazing women?
Yeah, I didn't grow around my grandmother, but I learned from my mother, because she had a leadership, and she influenced everyone behind her. And I see that every time they ask her to come and to mediate between Congolese pressure pastors and missionary from Europe, because every time they have some difficulty to understand each other, how they can work together. And my mother, every time they call my mother to come and to try to mediate, and she resolved the conflict. And I learned from her that women can be the person who can resolve conflict, and women can be can have a leadership and promote peace in the country. And even if because many times she go in this work to do mediation, but she didn't forget to take care of us. Every time before she leave, she verify everything if we have food, if we have some, all things is good in the house, in the family, and she go to do the work and come back. And every time
Julienne, what did she do that made her somebody who could bring people together? What was the leadership skill that she had that brought people together?
I know that she was concerned with the well-being and development of women and each person. And when she go there, she asked them one person to one person, what is the problem? She tried to understand.
Yeah. And
after that, today
she analyzed.
I think my English is broken in my head. When she asks, she do analyze, and after that she bring them together and she speak to them, and everyone has is confiance. I don't know how I can
confidence
with her. Yes, and they accept her to do the mediation because they know that she has she cannot take part of the conflict, and she tried to put everyone in the place and to say to them, if you work for God, you need to be honest and to love each other and to work properly with people in the ground.
Yes.
Yeah. So and the missionary called her auntie. When they call her Auntie Naomi, because she tried to create peace in the place.
That's beautiful. Thank you very much, Julienne. Shad, I'm assuming, and Margee, I assume that Julienne has just described your mothers.
Yes.
Yeah, we all can relate to it.
Absolutely.
Do you know, whenever I ask that question of people, I always sit there that night thinking, I wonder when our daughters are asked that question, what they'll say about us. And I hope that they will say good things about us, that we were as brave as Margee's mother. And as resilient as Shad's, and that we brought people together like Julienne. So let us carry on going. Don't forget, I want those words in the chat, single words, anything that sort of rings a bell, then write it up there. And Caitlin, Sinabu, and Alda, don't forget, at the end, we're going to come to you and ask you which bits. And it's all right, Shad, Julienne, and I, and Margee, none of us mind if you choose one of us above the other, okay? Just choose one. That's brilliant. So the next question is about our triumphs. Because we're women, we probably spend an awful lot of time thinking about what we messed up on. And that's great, because it keeps us humble. And if you're humble, you're much more likely to be successful when you're leading. But let's talk about our triumphs for a change. Shad, come on, talk to me about what your triumphs have taught you about leadership that you'd like to hand on.
Yeah. So, first of all, for me, it was not easy, though I always believe that, we need to celebrate all our successes and our achievements. And there are lots of efforts behind it, so difficult. But this, in return, gives us the realization to do more impactful things and to engage with more people. Because, most of all the achievements, they're not for the reason to, we can assume that we have done things and now everything has changed. Rather, I would say whenever I have made any success in my community or on any level, or even if I was acknowledged by any like communities or groups or even my own state or even international organizations, I always realize that the work I'm doing is actually very much needed. And I need to be mindful of the change I want to bring in my communities. You know, all the time we have criticism coming from different groups in our communities. I always learn to listen to them and see if that those arguments or those criticism is something that can bring more the impact, like to create that impact of my work. So I'll definitely listen to that and keep on going, because the successes also tell us that we need to keep on doing. When I share my personal story, I belong to a very remote part of my country, which is mostly disconnected and remote. And in this journey of 20 years journey, because of the threatening situation I faced in my hometown, I left my hometown in 2008, and then I left my provincial capital in 2012. Like within my country, I relocated twice for my safety and for the continuity of my work. But I also learned in this process that there are people who want to stand up for the change, but maybe their situation is not at that level they can speak up for themselves. So this like not comes like only my responsibility, but to help them find those avenues, those platforms, and help them, they can contribute to it in any way. So all these things like the collaboration with the people, keep on going the things we are doing, being mindful of what we are doing, what change actually I can bring, and being very mindful. Again, why I'm focusing on mindful, because again, when I'm thinking about my region, my entire work realized me that I need to particularly work on changing gender roles in my society, because what I saw in my society, that majority of the gender roles, that brings power and that brings control over the resources, all of them were occupied always by the men. So I'm always mindful that, okay, the change I want, but I always look at the initiatives I plan, the projects I plan, the interventions I plan, that am I supporting to change those roles, or am I making women more vulnerable? Again, just giving them the role which society has been giving to them. So all these things I have learned in this process, and this is a continued process for me. I always believe that we should continue learning, and I am learning. These conversations are also like everything is part of the conversation. And every time going back to your community, listening to them with empathy and listening to them, and then not only like engaging them just like, you know, we are doing this thing for you, not, but during the designing of the intervention, during the things I am planning, they need to plan it together. And I'll just close with this, that the things I'm doing, my aim is that every woman and every girl has that potential to stand up for herself. So we just need to create that conducive environment for her.
Oh, I can see notes going up in the chat. My one's going up, which is listen to criticism. That's interesting too, is it? Because there's a danger we don't listen to it, isn't it? If you listen to someone said to me the other day, if you meet somebody who doesn't agree with you don't agree with, the first thing to question is, do they know less than me? Therefore, can I persuade them? But the other thing is, do they know more than me? And can I learn something? Which is really, yes. So you listen even to the critics. Give me an example of something that you picked up from a critic where you thought, I'm glad I heard that.
So there are two examples. One example actually initially came from the women community, because we planned an intervention, and that was like we realized we just thought like we need to give this skill to these women so their income generation activities will, you know, increase. But after some time, things were not going like the way we wanted. So, and there was this criticism coming from women. So initially, of course, we were not giving this much attention, that, you know, we were thinking like our intervention is more good because we are spending money on it and everything. But then we realized that let's sit with them. And, you know, the rural women came up with the idea of giving us the detail of the work they have. They said, look, we are taking care of the livestock, we're taking care of the agriculture activities. we already do not have time to learn something new. Why you're not investing something which we already are doing, but that is not efficient. So we realized, yes, that was the click that time in my mind, in my community. Wow, just listen, we need to listen to them. And we changed the entire thing. And I realized we were actually overburdening women that time by bringing something new, which was actually planned by us. So that was like the example. And then another example, I just quickly gave that, you know, in my part of the country, we always receive criticism from the religious people because they're very much respected. And I was used to work on honor killing because we have that, and you know, our child early marriages and all these things. So, you know, we always engage many people, but in my country, like initially it was that people were not tend to engage the religious people. So we tried to engage them and have a dialogue. And there were some people who agreed that whatever is happening, this is not in the religion. This is actually the misinterpretation. So then we said, okay, yes, you people come forward and take the front seat and we will just facilitate you. That day and today, whatever we are doing in the community, we just organize and mobilize the communities, and we ask them to sit with all those key stakeholders, either that is politician or religious people, whoever, and they need to have this conversation with each other. We just need to facilitate. We should not tell them what is right and what is wrong. That was the day that people started owning the discussion. They started realizing this is about us and we need to change it. That was basically the impact of listening to the criticism we always have.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you so very much. Julienne, tell me about what you've learned from a triumph.
As she said, it's difficult to speak about myself. But what I can say that when my vision is carried by other women and girls, they move the idea forward. Today, many take me as a model, a mentor, and they come to me to ask, even if youth, boys and men come to me and say, you are our model, and they congratulate me. The lesson learning is joy, is mutual trust, listen to order, fulfillment. And I did my best to influence women to open up and speak up. Young girls come to me for advice, working in transparency and listen to others make you move forward and flourish. I can give one example. When I'm in the village, I'm stay with them and listen of them, what they need, what is the need, how we can work together to get solution. And when if I eat also what they prepare for me, I cannot say, oh, I cannot eat that, I cannot, no. I'm there and I live with them. I am from the village. And when I go to meet other person in another level, I try to be there and to do what is the protocol say in this place. And when I go in international level, even if there, I try to do what I can, but I cannot forget that I come from the community who was face conflict, who is vulnerable, where women as problem. And I try to bring all this and be humble to speak about this. And when you trust other women, they give you trust also. And when you call them to come and to work, you can initiate one idea. They come. They cannot hesitate. They come because they trust you. And they know that you trust them. And if I have some opportunity to open the door for one woman or girls or another person, I do my best to open the door for her or for him. Because I know we need to be as an escalator. We cannot stay and say, I'm here and I stay. No, we need to continue every day to try to change the situation. We need to continue to give also information, what we do there. Yes, we listen to them, we take information, but what we use, how we use this information to change their life. We come back to them. And if we have success, we say, okay, we have success, that is the result. And if we have not, we come again and say to them, that is the situation. We try, but no result. And they are confident.
Do you know, Julienne, as I listen to you, I remember my father, and he used to say that leadership is about having your eyes on the hills and your feet on the ground.
Yeah.
And if you're a leader and you can't see the hills, then you can't explain, or you can't describe the hills to other people, and they lose hope. Mm-hmm. But if you don't have your feet on the ground, you lose all hope yourself, don't you? And you are such a wonderful woman who is so admired around the world, but your feet are so firmly on the ground. I remember, Julienne, you told me that this is absolutely, I shouldn't say this, but one of the secrets you said to being a good leader is to choose the right husband.
Mm-hmm. Yes. It's very important.
Or choose the right partner in life who will let you be who you want to be and be proud of you.
Yes, because if you have a partner who every time he gives you trouble, you cannot do what you need to help women or for you yourself. Every day when you come back in the house, you need to think maybe he can just begin to endure or try to give you trouble, and you cannot be safe. You not be quiet. You know, I can give you some example. It's not like this idea, but
yeah. Quick one.
Okay. My English is difficult because today I'm not. I think I have not.
Julienne, je reviens à vous. Alors, je reviens à vous. Pensez à ça. I'm going to ask Margee her answer, and then I'll come back.
I give you the idea and the finish. Yes, I have it. That I said, when I ask women why you didn't choose women in the electoral process, they say to me that, you know, when we vote them, they go there and they forgot us. They change the number of the telephone, and when you call them, they cannot respond to you. And they give me some example. They say they just cut the escalator, and you cannot reach them because they're just
above you.
Yes. That is why they say we didn't know why we can continue to elect them and send them in the power, because when they come, they are there, they forgot.
They forget who they are.
Yes.
That's beautiful. Julienne, merci énormément. Margee,
L'anglais, c'est
you.
difficile, ma chère.
Over to you, Margee. Your triumphs.
So I think we would all agree our triumphs come from our hardest challenges. In 2013, 14, 15, 16, I was out in Northeast Nigeria leading a university, the American University of Nigeria, and we began to hear that, oh, you know, somebody up north of us was shutting down schools, kidnapping girls, kidnapping boys, terrorizing the community. You know, the world still thinks that we are instantly linked. We're not. Shad and Julienne know in poor parts of the world, sometimes communication is very difficult. So we really didn't know what was happening. And fortunately, the university had formed something called the Adamawa Peace Initiative, which was all the Muslim leaders, all the Christian leaders, the women's groups that were in town. And we were invited up to see an emir in the northern part of the country. And I will never forget walking into a room only full of women, 500 women, and foolishly asking someone, please ask them, where are the men and the boys? And the women said, our men were killed, our boys were kidnapped. And I remember getting in the bus to go back to the university, and one of our imams said, Margee, we now must be obsessed with peace. So for 4 years we were, because what happened is first 5,000 IDPs, what a horrible name, internally displaced people, they're refugees, they're people who had to leave their homes. 5,000 came to our town, and our little peace group in the university said, okay, we can take care of 5,000. We settled them. The university paid school fees, and they had a place to live. And we patted ourselves on the back and said, job done. Little did we know, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000. In the end, 300,000 IDPs came to our little town, 22,000 orphans. And we had to decide as a community and a university, did we fight these guys who wanted to shut down education, basically, particularly for girls, or did we try to stay and fight and feed people and educate them? And so we did. The universities, students and faculty, 5 days a week after classes, fed 50,000 people a day for 9 months. My students, so the young people listening and on this call, my students said, we can develop some technology to educate the kids. There's no schools for them. So under trees, technology enhanced learning for all was born, which is now spreading. All those kids learned how to read. So I learned a bunch of things. I learned that when a community comes together, focused on the common good, not on individual interests, you can do anything. Julienne, you just said the same thing. So when we work together and find the common ground, you can do anything. Number two, universities should be involved in social change. Often we're on the sidelines. Universities at this moment in time, with every global and national and local challenge we're facing, have to be deeply involved in positive social change. Third, I learned that students, like the students on this call, should be given the very big challenges in life while they're students, because then they can figure out what I can solve, where I still need help. The young students who are a part of the 3-year journey to feed people and educate them are becoming the leaders in Nigeria because they have the confidence and the courage and the knowledge to solve very big problems. So technology is a part of it. Let's start using technology, everybody, for good. The potential out there, the potential is there, but who's controlling it? It's primarily men and big institutions who are controlling it. We better get a handle on that. And then I learned a very powerful lesson from the women that we brought from Chibok. And they never should be called Chibok girls. They're women. They were women when we got them. They had been kidnapped. They had been treated in ways we don't want to imagine. But we went up and got them, the ones who were escaping, the ones who were released, and brought them to campus. What I learned from them are a million lessons. I relearned that education is the foundation of a society. Those young women now are doing amazing things. One graduated from an American university yesterday. I had the great privilege last May to give an accounting diploma to another one. So, you know, I think we've sidelined girls and women's education. We've thought we have solved it. We haven't. When we do it right, when we give the most vulnerable in society the access to education, everything changes. And I'll just end with the words from one of these Chibok women when I asked her what education meant to her. And I think about this every day. She said, education gave me the wings to fly, the power to fight, and the voice to speak. So those are some of the lessons I learned from a very difficult time in Northeast Nigeria. And I think we all need to remember that girls' education in particular, and for girls and women, you know, across country, across continent, across time, every piece of research that's been done shows that when girls and women are educated, all the social indicators improve. Economic growth improves, corruption is reduced, and that's the foundation of a democratic and sustainable society. So I learned a lot during those years, and those are some of the things I learned, and thanks to everyone on the call.
I'm going to push you, Margee. What did you learn yourself about leadership, about your leadership, how you led?
I learned that in a real crisis, which this was for a couple of years, you have to stay calm. You have to stay focused. You have to surround yourself, Julienne and Shad know, with people who have the same values, the same goals, and who will support you as you support them. And I really learned, honestly, these very big problems that we are all facing, my generation and the second generation on this call, can be solved when we work together. And Julienne, as you know, you find that common ground.
Thank you all so much, Margee, Shad, and Julienne. That was totally delicious. I'm quite sure that lots of single words are going up, and if they haven't, I give you about one full 50-minute moment to shove some more words up, because soon they'll be going into the word cloud. Shad, you went first, so I'm going to give you a chance of another quick. Is there anything that either Julienne or Margee have said that it made you think of something else you wish you'd said?
This one thing particularly, which actually Margee mentioned, that surround yourself with the people who gives you energy. There are times when you have such, a difficult situation, trying to regain your energy and all these things. So that is very much necessary. You need such group, those comprised of women or men or your friends or your community. That one thing actually, when she was talking, I just realized I have missed, but this is what I have done. And I have realized in my entire life that how important is that to have those people around us.
Those people, it's interesting, isn't it? Someone said to me the other day, oh, we want energy. And yes. We don't want them. They have negative energy. And I said, no, we love negative energy because it's energy. All you have to do is turn it positive. The one thing we don't want is no energy. No energy is a killer. Any other form of energy we can use. Yes, you are so right. That word energy. I think leadership is energy. So I thank you so much. And Granska, now it's up to you to produce our word cloud, and we'll come back to you. Caitlin, Sinebu, Alda, who wants to go first? What did you hear? Alda, you're going first. Thank you for volunteering.
Okay. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Really, this has been a very interesting discussion, and really the last points I can resonate with a lot, and especially what Margee was saying about surrounding yourself with the people who are supporting you. And in our work, actually, Caitlin knows we've been doing the Young Aurora, and we won the prize for this year's Young Aurora for our project Kombili. And during this process, I really learned that I don't need to be that strong, independent woman who does everything alone and has to prove to everyone and has to kind of live this single story and prove to everyone that, yes, I can I have to struggle and I can get through this. And if I just struggle a little bit more, it will, in the end, it will look good and it will look like, I've won this big struggle of being a woman against all the men or something like that. But I just realized that actually trying to do that made me very tired. And I think to be honest, there are those people out there. There are boys and there are men, and in our team we have guys who are very supportive and who we're working together with, and just realizing that that you don't need to be alone and you don't need to try to prove your case. And yeah, that really resonated with me. And also about the education, when you were talking about education being this force, and that we really have to focus on women's education, I really agree with that. And I'm just trying to think how that, even though we're here in the biggest, most amazing school in Armenia, international school, how do we still create more opportunities for students, and especially young women like me and Caitlin and Seinabu, to do these social action projects? Because for now, I think education is still very limited to, even here, to just reading a book and studying and, very theoretical things. And I think the whole kind of root of education has to change into incorporating social action projects and incorporating action into our everyday education, so that we can actually learn these skills that we need to learn to start NGOs and start new projects and have consultations and conversations with big people. And yeah.
Alda, that was wonderful. Thank you very, 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 very much. Seinabu, you're on. Tell me.
All right. So thank you so much. Like Alda said, this is a great opportunity for us to be joining this dialogue. And for me, what has really been a hint for me during this conversation was what Mrs. Shad said. She was talking about going back to your community. I really agree on that. And I would first say that it's a very important thing, because you lived in a community, you grew up in a community. They gave you the power to achieve what you are right now. So I feel like that is a very important point, and I really agree on it. And I would really love to do that in the future, to actually give back to my community. But I also think that my community is not only the country where I come from, Senegal. It's not only that community that is my community, but I think it's the whole entire world that is my community. Throughout the last year, I have gone through a medical treatment that I can say that people from all around the world contributed into. And that really, I don't know, it was just something that really touched me. And when Mrs. Shad was talking about it, it just reminded me of that. And I told myself that I can be any of you in this conversation could have given, even if it was just $1 into that money that made me become healthy right now. I can never show if whoever I'm meeting in the street could have helped me to become the person I am right now. So I'm telling myself that the whole entire world is my community at this moment. And I think it's very important to give back to the community. And also, like she mentioned also, to listen to the people and to give them the potential to stand up for themselves. Make them develop themselves and not make them dependent of you. Give them the potential to work for themselves and to become independent, and to afterward to be able to help some other people. Because I was helped. And right now, I can say that I don't need that much help anymore, but I can try to become someone who will be able to help also other people. So I feel like it's a very important point to help people and to help them become independent, for them to also keep on helping other people. Because in the world, we have to be realistic. There can never be a world where no one is needing help. We always need help. That's why we are in this world. We need to be exchanging between each other. That's why we're here. We are dependent of each other in any kind, in any way. So I think this was a great hint for me, like just to think about my own situation right now. And thank you so much.
And I am very, 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 very glad that you look so healthy.
Yes.
And we'll look even more healthy next week and the next month and next year. So delighted.
And I'll try my very best to make other people healthy.
Caitlin, what are you thinking?
Yes. Okay, this is, yes, once again, I want to say this was an amazing opportunity. And it was amazing listening to all of these different leaders, especially female leaders. So something that really hit home with me was something that Shad said. Be mindful of the change that you want to make in your community. And I think for me, this is something that I can really resonate with, because a lot of the times you can get really, really lost with your mission sometimes. You're always trying to strive for perfection, maybe sometimes striving for something that you think will be the best of the product that you're trying to create. And sometimes we lose the mission, the original mission that we're trying to impact those in our community. What we're doing is for the community, not for ourselves. And I think this really goes back to always having to reflect and stay grounded to your mission and to those in your community. Because your work is to serve the community, to give back. It's not for yourself. And I think that's something that I really liked hearing. Another thing that Julienne said, once again, listen and understand your community, but also, as a leader, you're a part of the community. You should never put yourself above the people you're trying to impact, because you are a part of the community and they are part of yours. You have to take your time to learn from them, to try to understand them, and get that critical feedback, even though it may hurt your pride, but it's something that you have to learn from, and something that it's just part of a natural process of really making that bigger impact. Yeah, so it was short but sweet. I think Alda and Seinabu really said a lot that I also agree a lot with. Yeah, thank you so much.
You know, Caitlin, it makes me laugh. The amount of times people say, oh, what about the imposter syndrome? And the first one is, I have seen not a hint of the imposter syndrome on this call, first point. But secondly, so many things on women's leadership that is thrown at us as our weakness is in fact our strength. May I have imposter syndrome for as long as possible, if the alternative to imposter syndrome is to think that you know everything. Better to have the imposter syndrome any day. It keeps you humble, keeps your feet on the ground, keeps you listening, keeps you close to your community, keeps you educating people. It's a total joy to hear this. Gvanska, are you ready to show us the word cloud? Or is it, there she is. Oh, wow. Armine, you can read this faster than I can. Go on, tell me what this says to you.
Yeah, I'm picking up loud and clear, strong out of this. We're seeing community, partnership, resilience. I'm kind of picking up the ones in the middle the most. I do like the exclamations, women power, go ladies as well. Adds a little bit of a personal touch there. But I think that the strong in the middle, that's the piece that jumps out the most, suggests most of us put that in, but also really reflective of the conversation and maybe a different kind of strength to what we're used to seeing portrayed. A strength that listens, a strength that asks, what if they're right? And then instead of reacting to an evolutionary pressure, kind of applies that pressure to ourselves and expedites the evolution, to borrow the name of the event today, from vulnerability to leadership into potentially a more vulnerable leadership. Julia, maybe that's the imposter syndrome driven leadership that we're talking about.
The only one I completely disagree with, I love that word cloud, but there's one word in there that's absolute rubbish. I don't know if you would agree, Margee or Shad or Julienne, fearless. None of us are fearless. We just keep going even though we're frightened.
Yeah.
It's not that we're fearless. Shad, you must have been terrified on occasions, haven't you? You're not fearless, are you?
Yeah, of course, because we are human beings. There are times when you also feel, so much fearful about so many things. So yes, I'm not fearless all the time in my life. Maybe on some occasions, but not like no.
And Julienne, even you, Julienne, I bet you're not fearless.
Can you translate this word?
Sans peur.
En français? Hein?
Sans peur.
Avoir peur.
Sans peur.
Ne pas avoir peur. C'est ça?
Oui, t'as toujours... Moi, j'ai toujours la peur. Mais je le fais tout le temps. Je le fais tout même.
Okay. Oui, I can try to speak it in English, but yes, we're afraid sometimes because we work in the war country, and every time you can lose your life. You can lose your children, your husband, your family, just because you work to promote peace, to promote justice, to promote women's rights. So I can give you one example. When I work to try to investigate to bring the voice of the women in the ICC, Cour pénale international in The Hague, it was very, very dangerous. And because the militia look for me and they say that they will kill me, they will kill my family, they kill everyone. And every time I need to think about this, but I say myself that I need to bring the voice of women so they can get justice.
Yeah.
And sometime, one day I was very traumatized because they come, we leave Bunia, we felt to go in Beni, and Beni, they come again, and we felt in Kinshasa. But when they come to Beni to look for me, I was very, very, I feel bad because I say, oh, I'm the problem of the family because we lost everything in Bunia. When we come to Beni, we try now to build a house and try to stabilize our situation, and they come again to push it, to push us out. And we felt in Kinshasa, the UN mission bring my family to Kinshasa, but we lost everything again. And I say, oh, I'm the problem. But my husband and my children come to me and say, no, it's not your problem. You do good job because you bring the voice of women in to get justice. And they encourage me. But myself, every time I was afraid because I say, if one of my children die, if they kill one of my family, how I can support, I can be. And even if my family, when I go in Bunia or Beni, they every day,
yeah,
they're afraid because they know that if those people saw me and catch me, they can kill me. That is the situation we face many times in our work to promote peace, to promote human rights, and to try to...
So you're not without fear. You are with fear, and you keep going.
Yes. Yes. Sometimes I cry. Sometimes I cry. I cry and say, oh, I can just...
Me too.
And when anyone call me and say, Julienne, you know, in this village, they kill women or they rape women. I said, who is it? And I stand up and I continue to fight. But my husband say, oh, you tell us that you stop. Why you are now
going again? Margee, I won't ask you. You must have felt fear too, but you keep going.
I mean, I think that's what everyone is saying. You know, you acknowledge the fear, but you find a way to push through, because otherwise there won't be change. There won't be the type of change that we know we need in the world. And
otherwise we wouldn't be women. So I send you all my love. This was a wonderful conversation. Thank you, Armine.
Thank you.
Thank you, Luanska, for making it happen. Thank you, Caitlin and Seinabu and Alda for giving what we've said richness.
Yeah.
And Shad and Margee and Julienne, as ever. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
I just want to say one thing in the last, that I enjoyed this discussion because, you know, we also need to work on bringing the young women forward and to have these conversations with them more and more, much needed. So thank you so much for arranging this. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Lots of love to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.